everyone, and welcome to the visual dungeon guide for Origenics. The first boss is Herpekaris. Strident Shriek is a group-wide attack that deals unavoidable damage to all party members. Healers be ready. The boss will move to the arena's edge and cast Vasoconstrictor, creating 2 poisonous puddles. The boss will cast Venom Spill, raising its arm in the air during the casting animation, before filling the matching side of the room with clustering area of effects. You can easily avoid this attack by standing in the center of the battlefield and moving left or right as needed, away from the raised arm. The boss will use Venom Spill several times. Writhing Riot will indicate a pattern of 3 large area of effects. You will need to maneuver between these to avoid damage, standing away from the first attack in the pattern, and then quickly moving into the safe zone. Collective Agony will target a random player with a stack marker. The party will need to stand together to share the incoming damage. Convulsive Crush is a tank buster that deals heavy damage to the target. Use defensive cooldowns and shields to mitigate it. The mechanics will then repeat until the boss is down. The second boss is Deceiver. Electro Wave is a group-wide attack that deals unavoidable damage to all party members. Healers be ready. The area should now become sealed off. The outer edges of the arena will become electrified. Touching this will give Electrocution, a 15-second debuff that deals damage over time. The boss will teleport to the center of the battlefield and begin to cast Bionic Thrash, unleashing 2 square area of effects for quarter room cleaves. The boss's lasher arm animations will give an early indication of the danger zones. Initialize Androids will summon androids along the arena's edge, with each firing a frontal linear area of effect. You can avoid this by standing in front of any android with a glitching animation that reveals them to be a harmless hologram. The androids will then become targetable and should be focused down. The boss will teleport to the center of the battlefield and begin to cast Initialized Turrets. Just as with the androids, you will need to stand in front of a turret with the glitching animation to avoid taking damage. This attack will repeat for a second time on the opposite side of the arena. The boss will teleport to the northern edge of the arena and begin to cast Surge, an arena-wide area of effect that will push any player away from the center. You will need to pre-position yourself to be pushed into a real turret and not a glitching hologram. While this is happening, all players will also become targeted with a circular area of effect for unavoidable damage, spread out to prevent overlapping damage from one another. You will need to make sure the party does not accidentally become clustered together after the push. The boss will then cast Initialize Androids before teleporting to the center of the battlefield for another Bionic Thrash. You will need to find the safe area and maneuver between the synchronized linear area of effect and quarter room cleaves. The mechanics will then repeat until the boss is down. The third boss is Ambrose the Undeparted. Psychic Wave is a group-wide attack that deals unavoidable damage to all party members. Healers be ready. The area should now become sealed off, permanently limiting the battlefield size while also electrifying the outer edges of the arena. Overwhelming Charge is a half-room frontal cleave in the direction the boss is facing. Psychokinesis will cause a cage door on each side of the arena to glow and rattle violently. You will need to maneuver so you are not standing in the path of these before the boss has finished casting. The doors will each be pulled across the battlefield in a large linear area of effect. The caged monsters will then be released, and you will need to burn these down. Extrasensory Field will divide the floor into quarters. There will be a different directional arrow on each square. Once the boss has finished casting, you will be pushed in the direction matching the square you are standing on. You will need to pre-position yourself so you won't be pushed outside of the arena. Voltaic Slash is a tank buster that deals heavy damage to the target. Use defensive cooldowns and shields to mitigate it. Psychokinetic Charge is a combination of Extrasensory Field and Overwhelming Charge. You will need to be pushed in the direction that will result in you being pushed behind the boss, while also not being pushed outside of the arena. The boss will jump to the edge of the arena and begin casting Electro Lance, a large circular area of effect centered on the opposite side of the battlefield. The boss will then use psychokinesis, pathing out the attack trajectory indicated by glowing red lines across the floor. You will need to locate a safe zone and stand between the markings to avoid taking damage. The boss will use psychokinesis again on the cage doors. You will need to maneuver so you are not standing in the path of these before the boss has finished casting. While this is happening, all players will also become targeted with a circular area of effect for unavoidable damage, spread out to prevent overlapping damage from one another. The boss will use psychokinetic charge again, only this time all players will also become targeted with a circular area of effect for unavoidable damage. You should have enough time to deal with the pushback effect before spreading out to prevent overlapping damage from one another. Just remember to be pushed behind the boss. The mechanics will then repeat until the boss is down.